Welcome back to Cloud 2K, and this is the Cloud Report. Today, we were talking about Jimmy Butler and the Golden State Warriors and why I think they now could be contenders. This is a team that, since trading for Jimmy Butler, only has 4 losses. They're 16-4, 15-4, something along those lines. And right now, they are dealing with the Steph Curry injury, so they lost last night to the Hawks, which is not a good loss. But you know what I mean? They're without the top 10 player of all time, best point guard of all time, so you give them a little bit of slack there. This is a Warriors team that is 6th in the Western Conference. They are, 2 games behind the Grizzlies for the 5th. Lakers, they're 2.5 games. I don't know if they're really going to jump up into that top 4 to have a home seated or like a home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. But they're definitely going to be fighting with the Grizzlies, who, again, over the last 10 games are 5-5. The Lakers also 4-6 without LeBron James, but LeBron James just came back. So you think the Lakers would kind of get back, kind of rolling here to finish the season. And the Warriors hopefully getting Steph Curry back soon. Steph Curry's going to be reevaluated on Monday, which is tomorrow after you're watching this. So you're hoping he'll be back within a week or two. I think that I saw that there was no like structural damage to it or something like that. The MRI had no structural damage and will miss the start of the team's upcoming 6-game road trip. So there's a real chance they just keep him out for the road trip, which would bring him back. I don't even know. What are we at here? The Hawks game, the Heat, Pelicans, Spurs, Grizzlies. Like, maybe you're looking at, I don't know, the Lakers game, which would be funny because Lakers fans love to say that players come back against them, but it could be that. It could be the Nuggets game on April 4th. It could be something like that. Steph Curry's going to be back, and you're thinking the team will get really back into the full swing of things. This Warriors team has been really, really good. I'm on what am I on? NBA.com here for the team advanced stats. I'm using last 15 games because the last 20 games isn't really an option, so I figured 15 games. This Golden State Warriors team over the last 15 games has been had the third best record at 12-3. They have offensively they're number 11, which is something we'll talk about a little bit later. Jimmy Butler doesn't exactly bring a lot of offense right now, but defensively they are number 2 in that pass stretch with 108.9, only 0.5 points better, or I guess technically worse than the Detroit Pistons at 108.4 during that stretch. That's better than the Thunder, who have been one of the best defenses the entire year. They've really kind of kicked it up defensively, and that is something you get with Jimmy Butler. You have Jimmy Butler, you have Draymond Green on the court together most of the time. You know what I mean? They have a Kevin Looney who gets his minutes. Quinten's not exactly a great defender at this point in time, but when you have 2 very good, very smart defenders in Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, you kind of know you're going to have a good defense, and that's something that we last saw with them winning the championship in 2022. I think they had a top 3-ish, if I believe, maybe the number 2 ranked defense when they won a championship. So this is a formula that has worked for them before that we've seen result in a championship. So Jimmy Butler, man, since joining the Golden State Warriors, like I said, 19 games, 17.5 points, assist, 6.5, 6 rebounds, a steal and a half a game. The biggest problem with Jimmy Butler, like I mentioned, is the offense. He's shooting 23% on 2.5 threes a game. 23% from 3. Obviously, you don't need me to tell you that's bad, because it is really, really bad. That's something he has not been able to do since going over to the Golden State Warriors. And now, again, Jimmy Butler's never been this crazy knockdown, high-volume three-point shooter, but it has been really, really bad since he's came over to Golden State. Now, the thing about Jimmy Butler is he causes so much confusion, and you need to focus on Jimmy Butler on the offensive side of the ball, because he still is a guy that's very, very smart on the offensive side of the ball, just like the defensive side of the ball. He's a guy that can attack closeout. If you're closing out just because, I know he's not a great three-point shooter, but you still have to respect Jimmy Butler to a degree at least, and if you attack his closeout too hard, he can aggressively go back at you, get past you, get to the basket, he might draw a second defender because he can still score inside, and he's a smart enough passer to kick it to the corners, to the Buddy Hield, to the AirPods, to Steph Curry when he's there around. Like Draymond Green, he had one where he drove in and kicked out to Draymond Green in the corner. The other game, it's like he has that ability to get into the paint, create a lot of confusion for the defense, get people to dive down into the paint, and he has the ability to make the correct passes out to the three-point line for the people that can shoot on the team to do that. So he still brings all that offensive. He's another post-up guy. He can get down in the post. Again, Draymond Green, a lot of people were worried how him and Draymond Green would fit together because of their, I don't want to say beef towards each other, but they're similar types of players where they're very like headstrong players. They tend to get into their issues. And I mean, so far, it's only been like 20 games, so, probably nothing's happened in that stretch. But there's really been no issues so far. It seems like they're actually getting along pretty well. I think this team, they don't have a great amount of perimeter defenders. I mean, Garrett Payton II has been really good recently, too, so that's another guy you can stick out there. But again, this team has just been a very good team defense led behind Jimmy Butler, behind Draymond Green, and you're hoping when Steph Curry comes back, that offense is going to creep back into the top 10 range. Again, you're losing somebody insanely effective on that side of the ball, one of the best of all time on that side of the ball. I truly believe this Golden State Warriors team is back to be in the contender realm. Now, I'm not gonna front you. I do not have them as favorites. I'm not saying like, hey, I think they can take down the Thunder. I think they can take down the Nuggets, maybe even the Lakers. But when you have one of the best players of all time in Steph Curry, you have two very smart, rangy, good defenders in Draymond Green, in Jimmy Butler. You have a guy like Jonathan Kuminga who can be a spark plug some nights. I mean, some nights it's not good, but he can be a spark plug some nights. Moses Moody's been really good as a defender and a shooter since pretty much since the Jimmy Butler acquisition. That's another guy, that's another good wing defender. He's been able to get the ball on the floor, be able to get to the basket. He can shoot well. Like, you have a lot going on there with him. Quinten Post has been pretty good. Tracy Jackson-Davis has been good. Again, Quinten Post is a guy that, like, one of the few times the Golden State Warriors in the Steph Curry era has had like kind of a stretch five. Now, he's not a guy that's going to create his own shot at the three-point line, but a guy that you can drive and kick out to him and reliably hit an open three-point attempt. And that's something like earlier in the season before they got Jimmy Butler, it was a lot of like Quinten Post was getting like very closed out on heavy at the three-point line, because really outside of Steph Curry, there wasn't a lot of creators on his team. Now that there is another creator on the team, you see a lot more open shots for Quinten Post, and you've noticed his shots have gone up at a better rate and shooting better. On the season, he's shooting 44% on about 4.5 threes a game, and that's something the Warriors have never really had. I mean, Andrew Bogut could hit a couple threes, like Draymond Green playing small ball 5 times, had a couple seasons where he was a pretty decent three-point shooter, but they really have never really like had a solid, consistent three-point threat at that 5 position. And again, this is only his first year, so you got ways to go, but you're hoping this is a guy that long-term could get you that stretchability. Again, you have a young Tracy Jackson-Davis. You have Kevin Looney, who's going to be a dog and do a lot of the dirty work. But then you can have rotations. You can have lineups where you can have Quinten Post down there at the 5. And again, you're going to give up someone on the defensive side of the ball. But if you mask him with a Draymond Green, with a Jimmy Butler, he has then the stretchability to get out of their way on offense, and on defense just kind of be hidden by them. And it's just, I don't know, this Warriors team looks really good right now. Again, you gotta hope Buddy Hield catches fire, because Buddy Hield can catch fire and be one of the best shooters of all time, or he can go through a down spout where it's like, oof, Buddy Hield cannot be on the court right now. Brandon Podziemski, AirPods, you got to get him self-creating, got to get him shooting the 3-ball well, and he's been a lot better since the Jimmy Butler acquisition as well. This whole team has just been better all around since the Jimmy Butler acquisition. It feels like they were always, not always, but in the past like year or two, I think they've been a team that like maybe they're one move away. Maybe that move was in the offseason was Paul George potentially. That didn't work out. I think they're actually happy that didn't work out, because we know Paul George was not very good this year. I think it just got shut down for the rest of the season. So I think they're very happy with this Jimmy Butler thing. Jimmy Butler comes in and does a lot of the dirty work, a lot of the defense that this team lacked very heavily. And I really never saw an issue with it. I know, again, you got to look at the Jimmy Butler, the Draymond Green, like, do they really work out? And what we've seen from Jimmy Butler on this Miami Heat team to start the season was bad. But it was very apparent he did not want to be there. He was having his issues with Pat Riley. And we all knew Jimmy Butler from his entire career is a very good, dirty work type of player. He's going to do all the small things you need to win games. So I think adding him to this Warriors team that desperately needed that outside of Draymond Green, it was a no-brainer. And I mean, yeah, you give up Andrew Wiggins, who was really good for you in that 2022 finals run. You give up Kyle Anderson, whatever, you know what I mean? Buddy Hield just had those comments that, like, maybe he should have been traded instead of Andrew Wiggins, because what Andrew Wiggins meant to the team. That was kind of weird. That felt like Buddy Hield's way of saying he kind of wanted to trade. I don't really know what he meant by that. But yeah, having Andrew Wiggins on his team instead of Buddy Hield would definitely help them defending. They're still a top 2 defense in the past whatever stretch of games without Andrew Wiggins, but adding Andrew Wiggins instead of Buddy Hield would definitely, maybe that would make them better for a playoff run with another rangy kind of wing defender. But again, we've seen Buddy Hield get hot through stretches and just completely be able to hit 5 to 6 threes in a game. Maybe not consistent, but like get on like hot stretches where he can hit 5 or 6 threes and maybe potentially win you a game. We haven't really seen that in the playoffs. I don't know if we've ever actually seen that in the playoffs, but that's something that this team has the potential to do. I don't know. This team, Again, I wouldn't take them over the Thunder. The only thing I think they have on the Thunder is the experience. This team has won championships before. I mean, I guess it's like what? Curry, Moody, Draymond Green, Kuminga have won championships. I don't think anybody else in this, Gary Payton II, are guys that have won championships before. Steve Kerr is a championship pedigree coach. You bring in a dirty work player like Jimmy Butler, who is very, very hungry for a championship. There's not a lot of teams in the Western Conference that I would be confident can put this Warriors team away quickly. Again, maybe they lose to a Thunder, but I think they take the Thunder to the 7. This is a younger, more inexperienced team. Then you're like, listen, maybe this team just has something in the playoffs. You still got to figure out how good of a coach Mark Daigneault is and how he can kind of figure out a playoff series. You got to look at the Nuggets, who outside of Nikola Jokic aren't exactly a great team. Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray bounced back from a really rough start. Same with Aaron Gordon, but again, a team that's just, if you can get Jokic into those defensive actions, you're gonna be able to feast all day. Jimmy Butler is gonna have a field day getting switched on to Nikola Jokic. Same with Steph Curry's gonna try to get those matchups. And then you look at the other side, it's like, I don't really trust Michael Porter Jr. to put the ball on the floor enough to get those good matchups against a Draymond Green, against a Jimmy Butler. You take them off, you have Moses Moody on him. It's like they have the wing defenders to help with an Aaron Gordon, to help with a Christian Braun, to help with a Michael Porter Jr. Jamal Murray, again, Steph Curry's not no slouch on defense, but definitely isn't a great defender. Maybe that's something you have there, but again, you have a Gary Payton II there as well. They just kind of have pieces all around, and they're going to maybe do the idea of trapping Jokic, get the ball out of Jokic's hands, and make the other people beat them in the Nuggets. And I just don't think the others on the Nuggets can beat this Warriors team. I just don't think they can score the ball enough. I don't think they can defend anything at all. You look at the Grizzlies team, a team that nobody's really taking seriously. They were a 2 seed for a pretty good stretch of the season, but people were just like, they don't really have that 1A guy. Ja hasn't been that all year. He's been better recently. Jaren's been really, really good all season, but I don't think a lot of people look at him as being that 1A guy on a championship team, even though I think there's a real chance he's an All-NBA player this season, so shout out Jaren Jackson Jr. The Rockets, another just young and inexperienced team. They have Dylan Brooks, they have Fred VanVleet, they have some older guys, Steven Adams, that they brought onto the team that's like hoping to kind of bring that veteran leadership for a playoff series, including Fred VanVleet, who's a champion. But the rest of the roster's pretty young, and again, they're on a 9-game win streak as I'm recording this right now. They started the season really, really hot, kind of fell off towards the middle of the season, and now are picking it back up at the playoff time. Maybe you do have to take them seriously. You can't just write off the Rockets team that's a 2 seed in the Western Conference. They're in the Western Conference being really, really good. But again, don't have much playoff experience, so you wonder if the Warriors' depth and their championship pedigree can win them games. The Lakers is definitely the one that's like, okay, they have Luka Doncic, they have LeBron James, they have Austin Reeves, and outside of that, what can you really rely on in a playoff series? Jared Vanderbilt is going to bring defense. It's what he does. Jackson Hayes has been pretty damn good since Luka's got there, but again, still not a great player, so you think he might get exposed by smarter players like Draymond Green, like Jimmy Butler. I don't know. The Lakers are definitely the interesting one because the top-end talent of Luka and LeBron is better than the top-end talent of Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. But outside that, I mean, yes, Austin Reeves is really, really good, but the Warriors have a pretty significant skill gap. You know what I mean? It's a little bit leaning in their favor, I would think. I mean, it depends how you look at Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt. It just depends how you look at them. But I think this Warriors team could give this Lakers team a run for their money. And honestly, I would be surprised if the Warriors won a championship. But I said the same thing in 2022, and they took down the Celtics. Now, the Celtics team is also a better team than they were in 2022. Jason Tatum's a better player than he was in 2022. I just look at those Warriors teams, and they have all the makings of a championship team, and the fact that they've been there many, many times before. Warriors fans, you guys might have a 5th ring for Steph Curry.